Hey, Quigley here. So I'm at this site. It's the Investing in Children site set by the Commonwealth. It's pretty cool. But I stopped here on my bike ride, and down here in the river valley, and I passed a lot of homeless encampments, and there are so many, and some are huge. Some are the size of houses. But it made me think about the City of London's efforts, along with all the agencies and various organizations working to solve the issue of homelessness in London. So there's a couple things about that. First, the homelessness summits, creating a more integrated network so folks who are homeless can get the services they need. I think that is fantastic. I think it's just fantastic. And the whole no wrong door solution. And what that means for you, those of you who don't know, is that no matter which place somebody who's homeless goes to, who needs help or assistance and services, a whole host of things, they will get the services they need and get connected to the other services they need. That's a really, really good thing. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was that $25 million that was donated by a family here in London, and that, what an amazing thing that was, for somebody to do that and to give that kind of money to help and solve, to help to go towards solving the issue of homelessness. Because you've all seen it, whether you're downtown or in any part of the city. You've seen homelessness is just increasing and increasing and increasing, and our provincial government didn't have anything for them in this budget. Really, there was some stuff towards home housing that I appreciate, but nothing that will create a wholesale systemic change. So we have growing numbers of homelessness, and more people being forced into homelessness by things like, these large companies coming in from Toronto and buying up apartment blocks and then renovating them and turning them into condominiums. And we've seen newspapers in the London Free Press where that's been the case, where people are forced out, and the average rental price in this city is $1,600 a month for an apartment. So how does somebody afford that if they're working at Walmart, or they're working at a drugstore, or they're working in a service industry? It's not possible. So those are the issues. City of London, and especially the partners, really worked hard. 3 big summits, came out with recommendations about how they wanted to fix the system, and they're working towards that. But there's a couple things I want to make you aware of, and I think our city councillors and mayor really need to look at this. So the first is that there is no unified approach to training amongst these agencies. They all train differently. They all have different approaches. They all have different ways of doing things, and different ways of handling people. And there's no unified approach. Now, we wouldn't stand for that in a hospital. So I don't think we should have it in the case of working with folks who are unhoused. I don't think that's going to be very good. Here's the second thing. The second thing is that we pay these people very little, like just above minimum wage, to work on this critical issue in our city. And I don't think that that's going to retain anybody. We've all heard about the huge burnout amongst folks who are working in mental health, addictions, homelessness. So how we have to increase wages to attract the talent and to keep them, just like we're talking about with nurses, who we need to support way more, and just like with teachers and with educational assistants, who we need to support way more. So we're not paying the folks who are on the front lines enough to work with and to retain folks who are to retain that talent to work with folks who are homeless. Here's the third thing. And this one's a little different. It's not so cut and dry. So we're continually placing these workers into a moral jeopardy. Let me explain to you what I mean here. What I mean is that we we have these folks working with the homeless, right? And we have all these encampments. I've been riding along the River Valley trails. My feet are soaking because of one particularly wet spot. But thank you, City of London Parks and Recs folks, for really cleaning up the trails for the spring so far. It's great. Nothing you can do about it, some flooding. But so some of these encampments are the size of houses, and the city's been moving people out of them. So imagine you're a worker. You're told to go out and help these folks. So you go out, you help, and then the bylaw officers come along and say, this has got to be moved. So the people you were helping and maybe supplying food, maybe connecting them to services, maybe helping them find medical care, a whole host of things. Those people you were helping, you are now going with them, with often the police and bylaw officers, to totally take down the camps that were their shelter. And that creates a kind of moral jeopardy. That's just not fair. We're expecting workers to help, but also to enforce. And it's just not in the encampments, in a whole host of areas. So how do we solve that conundrum? Well, for starters, the City of London's bylaw enforcement policy when it comes to homelessness is really all over the place and really needs to be addressed. It's gotten a bit better, and I appreciate the work that's happened on this, but if folks can't go into shelters, and that's for a host of reasons. One, they're afraid because often people get ripped off or their things stolen or beaten up, or incidents of sexual abuse are huge. All of that happens, but we can't. That's one of the reasons why folks don't go into shelters. Another thing, because there simply wouldn't be enough room. We don't shelter hardly. We don't shelter all the people that need shelter. So there's that issue as well. So those three issues: creating the moral jeopardy, paying workers more, and also creating a unified standard of training that everybody's trained to and they all know how to work to that. That's got to happen to make what I think has been a huge amount of work undertaken by the agencies and by city staff to really make it successful. So that's my 2 bits on that, and I will leave you with this lovely view of the River Valley.